Yo. So in the last video, I showed y'all 5 different ways to make $10,000. And I'm not gonna lie, I only expected that video to get a couple hundred views, maybe up to like 1,000. Considering that it was my first upload in like 9 months, I didn't really expect it to do much. And y'all pretty much just blew it out the water. That video took me from like 500 subs to over 1,000 at this point. And I got a whole bunch of comments, like over 100 and maybe like 50 DMs asking me to keep up the finance videos. Some of y'all may have already seen, this is like my vlog / IRL channel. So I feel like these kind of lifestyle help videos might actually help y'all out in the long run, and it fits in with my type of content anyway. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about one of the most misinterpreted things that could possibly be in the finance world, and that would be credit. Now, for some reason, people associate credit with debt and debt with terrible activity. Debt is not inherently a bad thing, it's really the way you use it. If you use your credit and your debt the correct way, it can actually benefit you in the long run, and your favorite businesses are taking good debt right now. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to start credit, and then from there, I'm going to be showing you how to really build credit and make it pretty much your best friend. So let's jump straight into it. Now, if you clicked on this video, I would assume by the title that you are most likely a teenager looking to start credit. But before you even step into going to apply for cards, you need to understand really what credit is. At its simplest form, credit really is just any type of loan or any type of borrowing that you can get from an institution, and you take the agreement to pay off what you borrowed at a select set of terms, which typically for the average person will really just be paying off interest every month. Or if you take something like a business loan or a car loan, you're pretty much taking an extra couple steps, but for the most part, it's going to follow the same format. It's really just an X amount of money that you're able to borrow from an institution, typically like a bank or a credit union, and you'll have to pay it off. Now, the reason credit is so important is because a lot of places at this point will only accept you if you have a credit score. Now, a credit score really is just a measurement of how responsible and how reliable you are with money that you have been given from other institutions. Let's assume I have a $10,000 limit on this Quicksilver and I use $5,000 of it. If I miss a minimum payment on my $5,000, that will hit my credit report. And as a result, it will affect my credit score, because now Capital One is essentially saying this person has this amount of money that we've given them and they were not able to pay us back. So now, even though you missed a payment on this card, when you go to buy a car or a house, 9 times out of 10, unless you're paying flat out cash, they're gonna pull your credit report. Some places won't even accept all cash because they want the interest that they would get if they pulled your credit and gave you a finance instead of paying cash. So if you're one of those people who think you're gonna walk into the dealership with $60K and walk out with a car, you might get denied. With that being said, that is why your credit score when you're first starting is going to be very important, but I'm gonna show you how to start a credit score and how to keep it. Assuming that you are a teenager, the most common form of credit you're going to get will be in a card. Now, I personally started with the Capital One Quicksilver at a $500 limit. Now, when you're first applying, I wouldn't even shoot for a card like an Amex. I would personally shoot for one of 3 types of cards. The first kind of card really is the easiest one to get, and that's going to be a secured credit card. A secured credit card is pretty much a credit card that you load money into by giving the bank X amount of dollars, and based on the amount of money that you give them, that's how they'll base your limit. And this really is only a method to start building credit if you're literally starting from absolute zero. The next option is the option that I personally went with, and that's going for a student credit card. There are credit cards that are made for high school and early college students, and 9 times out of 10 it'll be marked by student and then the version of the card. So for example, I'm 90% sure that there is a Capital One Student Quicksilver. All you're gonna do is apply for that card, and you'll most likely get started off between $300 and $500 as a limit, but that's all you're gonna need to start, I promise. The third method is going to require your parents, but that is going to be having them put you on their card. Now, depending on how early they do this can actually be a finesse, because by the time you turn 18, you might actually have a high credit score based on their usage. Now, when you're first starting, I personally would target cards that have some sort of sign-up bonus. Usually, you're gonna wanna target 0% interest for 18 months, and some sort of cashback or point reward. For example, when I got this Amex Gold, by spending $6,000, I was able to get 75,000 or 90,000 points back. It was one of them. And those points I can use for travel, I can use them for cashback, I can get free stuff. And if you were going to spend $6,000 anyway, like me personally, I would have spent that money anyway, that might be your best option. There are cards where if you spend $100, they'll give you 50 back. You spend 200, they'll give you 100 back, and so forth. Those rewards combined with the 0% interest is what you're gonna wanna target as a new credit user. Now, you finally got your card, they give you a $500 limit. What do you do now? Within your first month of getting that card, you're going to want to use it immediately. The earlier you start your usage on the card, the earlier you're going to establish a history. A lot of your score depends on your payment history, and the earlier you start, the better for your score. One of the most determining factors in your credit score is going to be your payment history, your credit usage, and the length of the credit line. As far as using your card, you're going to want to stay around 10% usage every single month. And like I said, you do not want to miss any payments on your card. So every month, I would literally just put gas in my car with the card, and that would keep my usage under 10%, and I was able to keep making those payments every single month. Now, you're going to have an amount due every single month, but what I personally used to do was pay halfway through the month. So if you have a payment that's due the 15th of every month, instead of paying one time on the 14th or the 15th, you can split your payments up into 2 or 3. I personally did this just so there were more payments on my report. And this is really where I started to see an increase, because by the time I was graduating high school, I already tapped a 700 credit score. Now, all you're gonna do is follow that format until the bank decides to give you a credit limit increase. When you were signing up for your card, there may have been some small text on the website, will be eligible for credit limit increase at X amount of time. For me, it just so happened to be 6 months. So after my first 6 months of having my Capital One Quicksilver, I went from a 500 limit to a 4,000 limit. But having a limit so drastically increased made my credit score shoot up even more. As I said before, your credit usage is a massive part of your score. You're showing the banks that yes, you have access to the credit and you're using it, but you are not using it to the maximum extent. You're not maxing your card out every month. So if you're not maxing your card out every month, that means you're responsible, and they are more likely to give you more money to play with. And that's where you'll start getting those crazy credit limit increases. Now, I pretty much followed that 10% method all the way up until I was 19. My combined credit limit was about 7,000 or so because I had 2 credit cards. And by the time I was 19, I had already tapped a 750 credit score. Now, once you hit that 750 to 850 range, you're pretty much considered excellent credit. And honestly, when you look at it, it's not that hard. You're just not using every single dollar that they allocate to you. Now, once you have credit built, this is where things start to get a little more beneficial, because having a high credit score does not only benefit purchases, it benefits what you can get from your purchases. Now, a lot of institutions will consider these premium cards, and what these are basically metal cards that have a ton of benefits and may have a fee attached. So for example, you may have heard of Amex Gold, Amex Platinum, Capital One Venture X, Chase Sapphire Preferred. All of those cards are considered premium cards that have a fee. But like I said, just by having a certain credit score and becoming a card holder for these premium cards, you get benefits. You're gonna start getting benefits like more cash back per purchase, a multiplier on your points back per purchase, cash back on hotels, cash back on food, sometimes travel or entertainment. It really depends on the type of card you have, but these incentives can be massive. But premium cards are not where it stops. At this point, if I wanted to go get a business loan for my clothing brand, I could very well do so. If I wanted to go get a loan for a car, such as like buying a Hellcat or maybe another car, for example, some of your favorite YouTubers, if you're watching this video, like Casper or Quan, these guys have already mastered the method of using credit to make money. I'm 90% sure Quan in a video has confirmed that he will use his credit to get cars, and the cars will eventually pay for themselves just off the strength of him making money off of those assets. Outside of credit cards and vehicles, if I want to go get a house, I can get a lower rate on a house. Having a high credit score means that you qualify for lower rates on loans, and this is how a lot of your favorite YouTubers and entrepreneurs, influencers are getting so much money off of properties. If their credit is good, they qualify for these discounts. And like I said before, even if you have the cash to do something, some places will deny you simply because they want the profit from the interest. Now lastly, outside of just credit cards, vehicles, and properties, I wanted to touch on what business credit can do for you. Now, I'm not extremely in tune with some of the business credit methods because I personally have not used them yet, but there are ways where you can register an LLC, pay for a car with the LLC credit line, and then use said car as a write-off on taxes. So for example, if I go buy like a Raptor and I transport clothes in my Raptor and I bought the car using a business credit line, not only does that credit not fall on me, it falls on my business, but also I can use that car as a tax write-off, specifically because the car is being used for business purposes. All of the expenses that are associated with it can be written off. If the car exceeds over 6,000 pounds, it can be written off. Or if the car is electric, you can also write a portion of the cost off. And that whole finesse is off of the strength of credit alone. Now, I've given you the ways to get your first credit card, build that credit, and use your credit as an asset. There's a lot of benefits to having it, and if anybody asks me, I would personally tell them it's better to have a credit score than it is to not. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, if this helped you in any way, make sure you drop a like and subscribe. If you have any questions that you think I can answer for you, drop them in the comments. I got literally over 100 inquiries split between comments, DMs, and Discord messages, and I don't don't think I left a single one unanswered. I answered everybody. So even if you have a simple question that you want to ask me, go ahead and do it. Like I said, I am at the point now where I'm getting like 100 different messages a day, so it's kind of hard to get back to everybody, but I will certainly try, and once I see your comment, I will reply to it. Of course, my SD card is full, but all I was gonna say is if this video helped you in any way, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye.